They say the truth will set you free, but there is an art to suppressing when we are suffering, where secrecy is the forced expression. So many hide behind a smile and learn to pretend. In childhood, we can become mute to the adversities that we face. Instead of talking about it, we become too afraid to speak. We create a bubble to protect us, which concludes into becoming a misunderstood metaphor. When no one understands, we become invisible due to our own self-inflicted oppression, which leads to problems with our mental well-being.
I knew I wasn't like the other kids, like at primary school, but when I got to secondary school, that's when it started. That's when the bullying started.
I was a very quiet child growing up, and I was very shy. I wouldn't make eye contact with people. I would hide when people would come, and I would always lock myself in my room with my books.
As soon as I got to like 8 up to like 14, 15, the anger started coming out a bit more, where I would snap, or where I struggled in school because I'm dyslexic. I would try and be funny or be angry because I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know how to express myself to the teachers that I couldn't do these kind of things because I classed it as a weakness when it wasn't.
I can remember going on induction day and someone coming up to me laughing at me and going, "You're an albino." Now, I'd not heard it being put like that before. Like, my mum and dad have protected me, but do you know what I mean, from that stigma. They obviously knew, but it was the first time I'd had it face to face. Like, "What's that?" "No, I'm not. My name's Matthew." That was me naive, honest answer. Do you know what I mean? And then it got worse and worse and worse at school.
I was in Iran, and it was a patriarchal, society. I did struggle growing up as a girl, and it was hard for me to do what I wanted to do in my art or in daily life.
There are still audience members who say, "No, women aren't funny." There are still the male comedians that actually feel uncomfortable when there's a female on the lineup. It's not easy to be a woman, and it's definitely not easy to be a disabled person on the circuit. Really have not got very many accessible venues. Being
misunderstood and not even being able to share it was kind of hard for me. It's like I was putting up a front, if such, and hiding that feeling. And I think a lot of things built up as well through not expressing that.
I used to write stuff and then I used to burn it away because I was too shy to show it to anybody. I'm a very private person. I live a very private and reserved life. So I felt that I don't want other people intruding into my life or looking into my thoughts.
How did it make you feel when you felt that nobody understood you?
Angry, frustrated. Why me? A lot of insecurities, a lot of scared, very anxious. A whirlwind of emotions. I just thought I was this crazy kid that no one understood, and that was very frightened.
Life does not come with any terms and conditions, nor is there a book explaining our existence. It can be easier to hide our vulnerabilities, but we live in a world where you are judged and given labels. Yet we always remain curious and inquisitive, searching for an escape from the torment from ignorant eyes. We can't always pretend and veil our truth deep inside, so we search for a catharsis to soothe our aching hearts. Some find it through their fingertips, some through their eyes. Some can feel their art, some find it through chance. Adversity leads to creativity as we slowly release our angst, like waterfalls of sorrow flowing from our soul to the ocean.
My father actually abandoned us when I was 5, and that was the year I started painting. For me, it was a way to express my feeling, and I kind of felt like alone, and I needed something to make peace with everything around me.
It was a Thursday afternoon. I was at school. I was in year 10, and I'd heard a song from a rapper that I really liked, and it was about their time in prison, and I could sort of like get the imagery from being the school comparing it to a prison. And I wrote a poem about that when I got home, and I'd never really thought about poetry because A, I was always told I was never good enough to do anything, and B, I never really had the confidence. But writing those two things down, it gave me that, and I got a buzz and endorphins that I'd never felt before.
Somebody else discovered my creativity, and that's in about year 8, I think, Mrs. Smith.
And that was your writing?
That was my writing. That was just to be creative and able to describe something in detail, the simplest thing in the most detail.
My family are all like entertainers. My parents were folk singers. So I grew up in an environment where people were entertaining, but I wasn't quite talented enough to be a singer, wasn't quite good enough at the musicianship, but the thing that I seemed to be able to do was engage people and make people laugh.
And so I heard about a open mic night at Dada, and I'd never, out of a classroom setting, read a poem out about school or anything like that. Didn't have anything prepared, was just going to go along to watch because my mum and dad really wanted me to come out of my comfort zone as well. And I went along and read this poem, and that was it. I thought, I want more of this. Made me feel very empowered, like I got a lot of it off my chest, like I was an equal part of a crowd for once. I wasn't Matthew the special needs kid, I was Matthew the poet.
My friend, she had this passion of becoming a makeup artist, and she took me to Bradford to learn makeup, and we were part of this studio group. And while I was doing makeup on that girl, my friend said, why don't you hum something? Everybody was humming, everybody was singing. So when it was my turn, I was being very shy and very reserved again, and everybody was taking turns. So when I hummed, I actually sang a wedding song, a folk wedding song that my mother, she used to sing on the family weddings. And the guy who was taking the photographs, he actually had a studio. When he heard my voice, he said, you've got a very distinct voice, why don't you come to our studio?
I was a latecomer when I was started breaking, 16 to be correct. A young man at the time called Leonard, who was at Derby Dance, did a lot for urban and hip-hop culture, came into our school at St. Benedict's and did a month workshop. And I would just generally walk past the studio and seen it, but because I've seen it before on Beat Street, it automatically made me think I really want to do that. So I just joined in.
We had a youth club that was available to us, and one of the facilities is you can go in there and you can record in the studio.
I went, and the music producer, Javad Haider, he was sitting with this huge piano, and he said, sing anything.
There were some other guys who were doing rapping. I mimicked what they did. I mimicked what I heard on the radio.
He got me to sing it, the same lines, a few times, and then he put away his piano and he said that, listen, you've got the gift of music.
And then from there, I started to develop my own stuff, and I think the way they say stuff is you'll do something, you'll mimic something, and then from there you can run your own path.
Creativity is your silent narration, but we search for the secrets to unlock suppressed artistry. In reality, we all look for a remedy, and the cure for our fears can be creativity. Sometimes we liberate our darkest thoughts without realizing, be it on a blank canvas or an empty page. Some say it with ink, some with their brushstrokes. It gives you power, providing you with an outlet to express sorrow, injustice, and regret. It brings you a sense of peace.
I had quite a lot of issues after my accident with negative body image. And that really impacted on me and my ability to stand on the stage. And so I look at that and I think, I'm feeling this, other people are feeling like that, let's make a joke out of it. Often, the things that I feel negative about, things that might hold me back, are the things I go looking for in terms of, I'm going to write something about that.
After I've written my poetry and read it and performed it, I feel like people like, oh, that makes sense. You know, it's like I've said a sequence of words that unlocks a different side of me to them, and it takes the mask off.
The space for me to try and give you an insight to me, but on the most creative level. So even if you don't understand it, you can get part of it and you can take something away. And then maybe we have a discussion point afterwards.
I was always a sensitive person, so negative vibes, negativity really affects me. And the only way for me to actually get rid of that negativity is just pick up my guitar, just find a quiet corner, and then just heal myself.
I had so many bad memories, maybe some questions that no one could answer, and I just had to take them out of myself. So my painting was the best way for me to do that.
When I started breaking, it was an important time as a teenager for me because I was just doing my GCSEs, a lot of stress, didn't really know where I was going in life, and breaking came along and I thought, well, this is something that I can try, and it actually helped me develop more to go to sixth form and such, but also knowing if I put in a bit more work, I could do anything that I wanted to do.
I don't find it terribly easy to talk about what's on my mind. I've always been a bit of a loner, which is why it's very weird that my comedy has very sort of self-confessional moments in it. I guess that I found my vehicle for speaking, that's my outlet.
I use music to meditate. I also use music to heal myself and heal others. I use music to focus. I also use music to entertain myself.
I think artists are like the mirror of society, and they cannot just be silent, because if it's something wrong, they feel it and somehow they react to it. So for me, at least it was like that.
There's still a long way to go, as always with society's view of disabilities, but I feel as though I've got a voice and people know that I'm not afraid to use that voice now.
If we've got something inside of us that we want to say, it tends to come out. Creativity is a much more healthier way to express it.
What if there was no poetry?
I wouldn't be here, or I would be in a hospital or in a crisis unit somewhere, or it scares me to think.
We all have a poem in our heart. We just express it differently. We all have a voice, but we sing in different tones. We all love to scribble and to paint an image. We need not be Picasso. We all have the ability to make people smile and laugh, even without speech. We've been dancing since the day we were born. Never let your feet stop.
Don't give up, and start to just not hold it inside of your body, your mind. Just try to release it out.
Choose creativity. Yes, you've got a job, fantastic. Yes, you've got to pay the bills, that's necessary. But at the same time, some part of your day should be invested in creativity.
Find out what avenue and outlet that there is out there, like poetry or art or
Running, painting,
Gardening,
rapping,
making your house beautiful, taking photographs.
being a host, building your own project.
The gym and exercise, some people don't see it as creative, but yeah, it's creative.
Or even going for walks and connecting to the nature and finding beauty in nature is also creativity.
It's about stimulus. At the end of the day, if you're not stimulating your brain, you become stagnant.
Just start having a go at things. I spent a lot of time working on literacy projects, and I encourage people to journal, to write things down.
It helps, and it's a jigsaw. We're going to move this way, we're going to move it that way, we're going to do this. The same words that I've rhymed over and over again are still the same words I'm going to rhyme over and over again. These might be the combination that changes the world this time, though. Who knows?
And it may not be that writing is your thing, but start with that. And then, you know, take yourself to art galleries, take yourself off to see what other creative outlets there might be. And then you'd be surprised when you find out what your creativity might be.
Something that will make you feel good when sometimes you don't feel good, because unfortunately not every day you're going to feel good, but if you know you have that purpose of starting something, you know it's going to be a rewarding journey for yourself.
It's heart, it's gut, and this hidden thing which is your soul. Like, where is this exactly? Sometimes I want to try and spill that onto a page, and I think that's what everybody needs to do sometimes. Spill your soul somewhere.
Don't be afraid to express yourself, and people are always going to judge you regardless, but for me, anyone on this planet is here for a purpose. So never hide in the dark for too long, and go to someone that you can talk to. Go on your knees and pray. However you feel you can express that light, that expression, that greatness, go for that. Don't let anyone hold you back.
If you've got a son or a daughter that's like 15-year-old Matt, and think that if that 15-year-old Matt can do that, your son and daughter can do that too.
Because I believe every human being's got a creative side. I honestly believe that. It's born in us.
Life eventually catches up on you. There is only so much distracting from the reality you can do. Creativity helps us to process the confusion and complications within our mind, helping with our emotional well-being. There is no glory in silence. You won't get an award for suppression. Creativity gives you control. There are no mistakes. It's your truth. It's your identity.